Russia just more or less has inked a deal with Turkey. Turkey was told by the European Union that no, we don't want you in it. They applied again, and they don't expect to come into the European Union anytime soon. So Turkey more or less said, well, screw you, we're going to join the BRICS. They're also the third largest accumulator of gold this year in 2023. There's no coincidence there, but the deal that they're forging with Russia is establishing a plan for natural gas trading. And Russia wants Turkey to be the hub for all of Europe for natural gas. So this is all being done in local currencies again. So sidestepping the dollar, sidestepping the SWIFT system.
Connection established.
Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. We are here with Andy Shectman for our weekly show. Every single week we do this thing. And also every week, Miles Franklin has new silver, gold, and platinum deals. If you guys want to check those out, this week we have some special ones. I got some stuff to show you guys. Check this out. So we have right now, this is for Cyber Monday, 1 ounce silver, 2023 Britannia's 50 coin minimum. Also 269 over spot. We have the 10th ounce gold Eagles, 5 coin minimum. And those are $32 over melt. 5 ounce silver Nordic bars, minimum of $10, $1.99 over spot. And this is my personal favorite, the 10 ounce silver bars, $149 over spot. So if you guys want to check those out, send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let him know Slayer sent you. You know, Andy loves that stuff. He loves hearing from you guys, obviously, since he spends time out of his busy schedule to talk to us every week. But yeah, Andy, what's up?
I got some workers cutting tile outside my office.
It's all good.
Sorry for the buzzsaw. We're also going to do for your listeners, if they send us an email at info@milesfranklin and type in, Slayer Cyber Week, we'll do 2023 Silver Eagles. Got to buy 100 of them. My operations were adamant on that. There is a smaller quantity like on the Britannias, but on the Eagles, we'll do $4.99 over spot delivered. On 100 or more, any quantity over 100. 2023 is at $4.99, and as far as I can tell, there may be one company in America who's better than that, but the majority of all of the companies outside the industry here are much, much higher than that. My goal is to try to show my appreciation to your listeners and to you, and bring specials that are worthy of being called a special. I also want just to mention that we talked last week, we mentioned that you're going to be a representative of my company. I could not be more proud and honored, truthfully, to have you part of Miles Franklin. It is an honor and it is a privilege to work with you. I sense sincerity in you, and to me, that's the most important trait in someone who is trying to help the public, to advise, to bring insight in a world that's very difficult to understand what's going on. So I know that you will be, after the first of the year, really up and running. But I just want to tell everyone out there, I don't offer most people that I talk with on YouTube an opportunity to represent my company. It's a reputation I built over 34 years. You are different, and you're someone I'm honored to have an association with. So for everyone out there, this is going to be your guy. If you want to buy precious metals, you'll reach out to him. He'll have a website, or an email for everyone to reach out to. And it's just an honor. So I wanted to thank you personally and here publicly, and tell you the honor is mine. So enough of that. It's good to be back. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, as I hope everyone else had a good Thanksgiving. Crazy to think that that the end of the year is here. It's flown by. Considering that you and I met about a year ago, it's amazing.
Right.
Past a year is gone. So what's on the agenda today? What do you feel like chatting about? I know I got a lot to talk about, but
that's well, first, I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity, and I do want to tell everyone, like, I will bust my absolute effing ass to be the best broker in the world. Like, I'm taking this very seriously. I'm even gonna start opening up an email right now. You guys can email me at buy.slayer@gmail.com just to talk to me. I'm not even gonna be really selling yet, but I just want to get some experience talking to you guys more often and getting to know you guys better. And, when you guys do want to purchase through us, you could go through me first, and I'm just going to try to work things out and just practice so I can, when I am ready. I really want to be good at this. And you guys know how much I love you guys. So just imagine when it comes to something like that, how serious I'm going to take it. So yeah, I appreciate
That's
that.
the sincerity that I speak of, that
Yeah.
I gleaned from you from the first day that we spoke. And it's interesting how we met. We did that $50 million deal, and someone said there's this guy, he's saying that it's not possible online. His name's the Silver Slayer. And I called you up, and one thing led to another. And there are lessons to be learned from that. And that
I
lesson to me is, if you speak to someone um, with respect, then you should be
Yeah.
able to listen to varying viewpoints and understand someone else's opinion, and then talk and listen. And if you don't listen to someone, or listen to other people's viewpoints, you never get anywhere. You'll learn more and more about less and less till you know everything about nothing. And I think there's a valuable lesson there. I could have sent you a nasty email or called you and said, what the hell are you talking about? You don't know me. And within 30
Yeah.
seconds, I knew you were someone who I wanted to have a relationship with, personally and professionally. So enough of the lovey
Yeah.
dovey, but I do mean it, and I'm excited. And for people out there who want to place orders, please feel free to reach out to the Slayer right now. We will work with him to get him up to speed. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not the what. The what is the easy part. It's the why. And Slayer is very adept at the why. And it's like coming to grips with spending, $30,000 to buy a new car. Well, that's the hard part. The fun part is the what, the make and the model, and that's the easy part. And we'll get them up to speed. So if you want to take advantage of any of these specials and you want to reach out to Slayer, do so. My operations will work with him hand in hand to make this transition for him easy and the purchase for you all easy. And again, it's just an honor. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Lots of crazy stuff to talk about. One thing
Yeah.
in particular I want to bring up, and then I'll take any questions. We can talk silver, whatever. For 4 years, I have spent a lot of time in over 1,500 YouTube videos talking about the BRICS, talking about the ultimate end game that I see being OPEC and Saudi Arabia dumping the dollar as their settlement currency for oil. After all, we've gone green, according to Biden and the executive order that he signed a few years ago, that basically says by 2030 we'll be 50% green, and by 2050, 80% green. We've weaponized the dollar, and we've sat by and watched every OPEC country in the world join the Belt Road Initiative, all of them, every one of them. We've watched Saudi Arabia join the BRICS. We've watched Saudi Arabia, which, by the way, is the linchpin to the dollar hegemony.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yes, it's our protection of the Saudi kingdom that has, for 50 years, allowed oil, anything through OPEC, to be priced in dollars. Over 85% of all the oil sold over the last 50 years has been in US dollars, which has created a synthetic demand for the dollar globally. Every country must stockpile dollars to buy oil, right? So we've watched as they've joined the BRICS and the Belt Road. We've watched as they've joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which will be joining BRICS. The entire unit will be joining BRICS, as too will the Eurasian Economic Union. But the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the largest regional financial and military organization on the planet. In essence, we've watched Saudi Arabia now be protected by two of the three largest nuclear arsenals on the planet. We've watched them join the BRICS New Development Bank and tell everyone in Davos that they are open to taking other currencies for oil. I have connected the dots for over 3 years saying this will happen. And it freaks me out how fast it is happening. But nothing like what I saw yesterday. And I will read the headline. UAE, the United Arab Emirates, officially stops using dollars for oil trades. Well, they just joined the BRICS too, by the way. They were formally admitted into the BRICS in August. The United Arab Emirates is eyeing potential oil and gas deals with up to 15 countries, including China, Russia, Egypt, all of whom are BRICS members and advocates of the continued de-dollarization. When you talk about a shot across the bow, this is as big as it gets. Now, the only thing that would be bigger than that is when this is followed up by Saudi Arabia and the remaining OPEC countries who say, yeah, look, you guys are going green. Thanks for the memories. We're going a different direction. When you put all of these groups together, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Eurasian Economic Union, and by the way, the president of Belarus has just called a formal meeting that the Eurasian Economic Union and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization should join BRICS. I've been saying they're going to do that for 3 years. They're all the same countries. But now there's a formal meeting in the works for that to happen. But when you put them all together with the Belt Road, which in and of itself is 75% of human population, you're talking the majority of human population. You're talking almost 80% of all the global oil supply, 70+% of all the global natural gas supply, the majority of all the rare earth metals, the majority of all the precious metals, and it's a situation that is not ending. I'll take a few more pieces on this, and we'll talk silver. China and Saudi Arabia just signed a very large, about an $8 billion swap agreement. A swap agreement basically says, well, we'll trade with each other in each other's currencies rather than what everyone has always done, and that is to first go into dollars. The high interest rates of the dollar, the cost of converting, and being in the SWIFT system, which we have seen already 2 of the BRICS members, Iran and Russia, be kicked out of SWIFT, have their assets frozen. These countries are doing it amongst one another at a better rate. You don't have to convert to dollars, and in a way that is very advantageous for these countries. And at the same time, they sidestep the SWIFT system. So when you see China and Saudi Arabia striking deals like this, it is just more and more of what I call logarithmic decay. Little by little, by little, by little, by little, by little, and bang, all at once. It's like taking an axe and chopping a big oak tree. The first 50 chops don't do crap. You don't even see a dent in the tree. Maybe it takes 5,000 chops before it falls, but eventually the all at once happens. A couple of other things to mention. Russia just more or less has inked a deal with Turkey. Turkey was told by the European Union that, no, we don't want you in it. They applied again, and they don't expect to come into the European Union anytime soon. So Turkey more or less said, well, screw you, we're going to join the BRICS. They're also the 3rd largest accumulator of gold this year in 2023. There's no coincidence there, but the deal that they're forging with Russia is establishing a plan for natural gas trading. And Russia wants Turkey to be the hub for all of Europe for natural gas. So this is all being done in local currencies again. So sidestepping the dollar, sidestepping the SWIFT system. Another big deal. You can see the alliances that are being made. Venezuela, in and of themselves, not too much to worry about, right? They do hold 17.5% of the known oil reserves globally. They have formally applied as a full-fledged member to BRICS, as has Pakistan, has fully applied to be a member of BRICS, as has Nigeria. Nigeria is an OPEC country. They're on the Belt Road. If Nigeria joins, along with all the countries that are already there, you are at 80% of the global oil supply and 73% of the natural gas reserves globally. This is nothing to shake a stick at. So I just want people to know that this narrative that I talk about of continued de-dollarization will massively impact all commodities. And as Zoltan Pozsar says, we have entered a period of time that is no longer going to be dominated by opaque debt instruments, but rather by transparency in commodities. And you can see these countries not only are doing this by massively accumulating all the world's commodities, not just gold and silver, but copper and rare earth metals and wheat and soybeans, and you name it. If it's a commodity, they're buying it. But at the same time, they're doing so outside the dollar. You look at a massive deal between China and Brazil. Brazil is the second largest exporter of corn in the world. They're now selling it to China for yuan. They're also doing that with soybeans. And for the United States soybean farmers, their sales are down about 60% this year because China is a big buyer of soybeans. They're now buying them from Brazil in local currencies. So keep in mind, there will be a gold-backed common settlement currency that the BRICS come out with probably next year in August. That's what we were told, that they were going to go back to the drawing board after the last August meeting, and the finance ministers were tasked with coming back with a plan to issue a common settlement currency that will be pegged to commodities, most likely gold. But in the meantime, they promised to trade with one another in local currencies, and that is exactly what you see happening. So this is nothing to shake a stick at. When you see the United Arab Emirates say, by the way, we're done taking dollars, it's massive. And it's even bigger when you realize that either later this week or early next week, they're going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 or 70 countries coming to the United Arab Emirates to Dubai for this big environmental conference. I think it's interesting to note that the time that they're having half of the world come there for this meeting, they announced we're no longer taking dollars for oil. Little by little by little, chop, 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 chop. When's it? Don't know. But you can tell by something like this, we're getting much closer. So now let's talk metals and whatever else you got on your mind, brother.
Man, a lot of that has to do with metals. And, all of those countries, why would they want to go green? Why would they want that? And that's the scary part, is we're poking the bear. Our dollar's worthless. Why in the world wouldn't they do this? And why wouldn't they buy up all the silver for us realistically not be able to go green? I mean, that's also a thing. And
look at India. They just bought another 60 million ounces.
Yeah.
And that was after buying
It's a
304
win-win.
million ounces last year.
It's a win-win. But also, silver right now is doing something interesting. It has gone up substantially over the last week and a half. What do you think it's going to do next?
Most of us, yourself included, who have been watching this for a long time, are waiting for the shoe to drop. It's like getting a dog at the pound who is abused. My parents have one, actually. And even though this dog has seen me 5,000 times, every time I go to pet it, it's waiting to get hit. There's a special place in hell for anyone that would hit a dog, by the way. But I think we're all waiting for the shoe to drop. The thing of it is that the world's exchanges are being bled dry. If you look at the Silver Institute, their latest calculations are all screwy. They're all being reevaluated, and they're changing the numbers. Because
I made a video about that.
The silver photalic, I think it's called. I don't even pronounce it right, but it's what's used in solar panels. They revised up tremendously. Mick Sweer did an interesting article or video on it, where showing that the numbers were way off because he took the numbers directly from the solar panel industry, show that they're way off. But I do want to say one other thing. They're saying that we have another massive shortfall this year, right? A deficit again this year of
could be record breaking.
Right. I don't know how many, a couple 200 plus million ounces shortfall. But you and I have both talked about the Pickaxe article, and I can't vouch for its accuracy. I would suspect it is a lot of it. It's all been he cites facts, and I was blown away by it. And the most interesting thing to me about the Silver Institute is that they ignore any military component of silver. They don't have it in there. And I've often said, long before I read John Little's article, and I think he's a hell of a researcher, and the article was compelling. Again, I am not a fact checker in this respect, but the article was compelling, and he cited facts to support his thesis. But his whole thesis is that it's been the military industrial complex that has held down the price of silver in order to create munitions and weapons and submarines and aerospace stuff and airplanes and all of this stuff that takes silver. and the funding of the wars on both sides that we're constantly seeing for years and years and years, he needs silver. And his whole thesis is that it's the military industrial complex that is behind the suppression of silver. Okay, let's put that aside. True or not? I'm not legitimizing it other than saying
just look at the
article. But here's the thing. If you Google how much silver is in a Tomahawk cruise missile,
500 ounces.
500 ounces, right. So why is the Silver Institute ignoring the military component? And even with that, they cite that it's the biggest industrial demand ever for silver, ever in history, and yet they don't talk about the military side of it. I find it to be not very credible, I guess. And if you watch Bix's video, he goes back. In fact, I was on with him last night talking about not only did they revise last year's numbers, they've gone back and revised the last 5 or 6 years' numbers. So it's kind of like the information we get out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, bunch of bullshit, where they give us numbers and then revise it months later when everyone is not paying attention anymore. But the market reacts to the information that comes out
immediately.
And then yes. And the same thing here is here. But I do want to say that I think the world realizes how important silver is. I'm sorry for that noise. I think the world realizes how important silver is, and a lot of the countries, like India importing 60 million ounces in October, like China importing another 10 million ounces in October, like Turkey importing 26 million ounces year to date, and like mysteriously last Friday, almost 4 million ounces delivered off the ETFs around the globe. Where is it all going? Who's taking it? I think we're going to wake up one morning to see silver gap up way higher, because it was one thing to suppress gold and silver when no one wanted it and everyone was happy with dollars and dollar-based assets. That's not the case anymore. And you have half of the world standing for delivery. So what you have been doing, setting the table, telling people to buy silver all of these years, I believe it be life-changing.
I got it. I called the dude out, Silver Institute. Phillips Baker, CEO of Heckler Mining, chairman of the Silver Institute, metal's most prominent group, right? I mean, Silver Institute is, everyone gets their numbers from them, but I called him out. He's about this BS that you're talking about. He says we have enough silver, right? He says we have enough above ground stocks, reserves, but then the rest of this article, I posted this video 2 days ago. The video is titled, "This Makes Silver Explosive." He goes into all of this stuff that completely contradicts what he said in that statement. I mean, it's almost like he's saying this to mislead people, because he literally says, someone asks him in this conference, do you think we have enough silver to go green or something along those lines? And he says, yeah, we have enough for this to happen. But then the rest of the conference, he just goes into all of this information, completely disregarding that. I mean, just contradicting himself. And that made me, I was baffled by that. Like, why? Like, because obviously we don't, and obviously he knows that. So why did he say that? Especially since he's saying the numbers that completely go against that statement, and then what you just said is even more interesting that goes along with that.
Well, I think that, the argument is that they are part of the cabal, part of the cartel, that is providing information that is not accurate to misdirect the public away from de-dollarization and from hoarding silver when it is so important to the military industrial complex. Now, again, that's not my work that the Pickaxe did, but I suggest everyone should read the article about it and think for themselves, because it does make an awful lot of sense, and especially in the respect that we know that some silver is used in military no matter what, and the Silver Institute does not list that in there at all.
Yeah.
So
check this out.
Find it interesting. Yeah, share your screen.
Check this out. Can you see?
Yeah. Make it bigger.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Bigger. Bigger. I see it. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Phillips Baker, CEO of Heckler Mining, chairman of the Silver Institute, metal's most prominent industry, recently made a presentation at the LBMA in Spain, and he says it's silver's role in the transition to green. in a press release, he says, someone asks him whether we have enough silver to go green. Like, he replied in the affirmative, explaining, while the market is currently in structural deficit, above ground stocks will be mobilized to meet the demand. Then he goes in, the rest of the article talks about how it is not possible. Demand outstripped supply in 2022 by nearly 238 million ounces, possibly the most significant deficit on record. And then he goes into how the output fell versus the previous year, confirming what Hecla Mining said about difficulties miners face in bringing new production online. It's getting harder to find high-grade deposits, more difficult and expensive to develop and operate a mine. And then it just keeps going on and on. So why in the world would he say that we do when everything just contradicts that statement? And I was reading this like, it doesn't make sense. He says it's one little line, but the rest of what he's talking about just contradicts himself. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, it is. And when we're going into our third year of structural deficits in supply versus demand, this becomes a problem. And silver is found in nature in a form called epithermal, very near the surface, meaning the big deposits were found decades ago. So yeah, it's not like you're going to all of a sudden stumble across more silver, especially when the price has been held down for so long that it has really mothballed most exploration companies. It's too expensive and not lucrative enough for these companies to explore. So it has really put a curtail, I guess you could say, on future silver deposits, where only 35% of all the silver found came from companies that are looking for it. The rest is byproduct. Yep. So it's one of these deals where I think people have a hard time believing that we could actually be misdirected by authorities, that we could be misdirected to be thrown off the scent, off the trail. I will tell you that I believe that does happen. I think that misdirection is very
price. Price is the greatest tool of misdirection.
It is. You're right. And that if you want to misdirect the public, that's all you got to do. Like I often say, I live in a neighborhood where the guy across the street from me is one of the biggest money managers in Florida. He's in the Forbes top 50 list. And the only time he ever asked me about gold and silver is when the price is down. Yeah. And he wouldn't know a gold eagle if it fell on his foot. Now, this is a guy that manages $4 billion. $4 billion. The public has no idea what's coming. And the recency bias and the normalcy bias that, look, if you've been a broker over the past, 20, 30 years, you've lived through nothing but boom time, where since 1982, interest rates have gone straight down until just recently, making selling equities and bonds a very, very lucrative deal, and one where you have a very good chance of doing well by your customers. Let's see what happens when interest rates massively go the other direction. And I think there'll be a very big problem. So you have the majority of this country asleep at the wheel. You have the majority of this country not owning any physical precious metals. And you see, again, deficit after deficit after deficit. You see supply dwindling off the exchanges. And the one thing that's really strange about all of this is that right now the retail and wholesale industry is flush with product, and premiums are as low as they've been in 4 years. I look at that as bottoming out. This cannot last when you see deficit after deficit after deficit and the exchanges being bled dry. It's that the public hasn't been shaken up yet enough to realize that the banks aren't safe, the brokerages aren't safe, that traditional investments need to be reevaluated. Even the best laid plans need to be reevaluated. That 60-40 split, how's that working out for you right now, where the 10-year treasury has lost 50% of its value over the last couple of years, and where the equity markets have done not a whole lot unless you're in the top 7 stocks that are holding up the entire indices. So, I just think the bottom line is this: it's getting real. And I think people need to understand, when you see United Arab Emirates stop taking dollars for oil, we are this close to the shit hitting the fan. And then when it happens and it breaks the fragile banking system, which is massively over leveraged and undercapitalized, and all of a sudden rates spike and you see banks fall one by one by one by one, and the bail-ins that no one knows about, Google bail-in, Google the Dodd-Frank Act, and see what happens when people lose all their money in their bank accounts. And like that, people say, my God, where can I put my money? Oh, gold and silver. Oh, too bad. Can't find it anymore. Because in a matter of days, when you see that kind of demand, it would bleed dry the entire industry
And
that right
people,
now is very flush.
and people might say, "Oh, that's impossible," but look what happened with Wall Street Silver early February 2021. Nobody could buy. Atmex was not taking orders. One of the biggest places they literally said we cannot take orders. JM Bullion, you would be in the add to cart, it would freeze. Every site was breaking down.
Want to know why that
Could
happened?
not.
You know why
You
that
literally could
happened?
not.
You know
Why?
why that happened? I'll tell you why that happened. So I lived in Minnesota then, and I moved to Florida subsequently. That my parents rented a house in Boca Grande Island, which is on the other side of Florida. It's over on the Gulf side. And my dad called me up and he said, your mom and I rented a house. We've been here a week. I'm bored shitless. So bring your family down. You can have the house. I'm going home. Oh, by the way, we just bought a condo in Fort Lauderdale, he said. And so, you know, we're going to be down here more often. I said, great. So I packed up my family. So we're going on a vacation. I had no idea that what I'm about to tell you was going to happen. Zero. And so we pack up to go on a vacation. When we land in Florida, this is in the middle of COVID, when everything's locked down, when Minneapolis led the nation in defunding the police, and the city became a very frightening place, a place that I was not proud of any longer. And I land and I find out that Governor Walz from the state of Minnesota wants to raise income tax to 10%. I call my dad and I say, we're at the house. Thank you very much. Give me the number of your real estate agent. And now I'm there for 10 days. That night, Silver Squeeze happens. The only time in 10 days I left that house was to go across the state to Delray Beach to look at the house that I live in now. And I left for a vacation. I came back with a new house. I had no idea. But that Friday night, when this all started, my head trader called me up and he said, things are getting crazy. How long do you think we should go into the weekend? What he meant by that is, how many COMEX contracts should we buy at 5,000 ounces a piece so that we can sell product over the weekend? Because you could sense things were heating up and things were changing. And so I said, I don't know, how about 11? So we bought 11 COMEX contracts, which meant that we were 55,000 ounces long, which means that anyone who wants, because the market closes on Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And it sleeps until roughly 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, where it opens in Asia. That's the only time it's closed, that period. That's called the access market, where if you can take orders, but you better be hedged unless you're concerned that the price might open up higher. So we buy 11 COMEX contracts into the weekend, having no idea what Silver Squeeze really is going to be. This is on a Friday. And so Friday night, I'm doing interviews with Wall Street Silver and with Arcadia Economics and David Morgan. And I mean, literally for 10 days straight, I worked 18, 20 hours a day, never left a room, never went outside. My kids hated me except to go across the island to buy a house. And I'm working nonstop, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phone calls and interviews. And it was just, I've never experienced anything like it to this day. And so my head trader calls me up. Well, first of all, I get calls from people Friday night saying, do you see JM Bullion and Atmex are no longer taking any orders? They've stopped taking orders. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. My head trader calls me the next morning, Saturday morning, at about 6:30 in the morning. And he says, dude, he says, you know, we bought 11 contracts yesterday, 55,000 ounces long. You sold 90,000 ounces last night. You are naked. You are exposed by 45,000 ounces to the open price. And now it's Saturday. People are saying the price of silver is going to gap up 20 bucks, whatever. And I'm thinking, holy shit, we're 45,000 ounces exposed. And that could bankrupt the company if it really gapped up, right? And luckily we were able to hedge it right away. But when it opened up $2. It cost me over $90,000.
Jeez.
And that's what happens when you sell more than you have hedged long. And so all of those companies, the reason they shut down was because they could not hedge the exposure into the unknown. Well, that's exactly what will happen. We will wake up on a Monday morning to find the price gapped way higher for whatever reason. Maybe it's OPEC dumping the dollar or whatever it may be. And it's a system that when I left Minnesota, not only would I have bet anyone in the world that I'm not going to not come back and sell my house immediately. I'm going on a vacation not to buy a new house, but it happened. But by the same token, I watched some of the biggest companies in America, myself included, stop taking business. We shut down on Saturday. I said, no more. Saturday and Sunday couldn't take any orders until it opened up and we could hedge our position and go long. But I'll tell you, that's how fast things change, like that. And in one night, it overwhelmed the industry. Well, what happens if the shit really hits the fan this time? Yeah. In one night, the entire industry will sell out of product. Yeah. Because what you and I and the people listening to this show are, sun in my face, we're the pimple on the elephant's ass. When the elephant, which being the public, says, oh my God, that bank just failed in, they lost everything. And they run to the safety of something like precious metals in your own possession. I'm telling you, and I mean this honest to God, in a period of 24 hours or less, it will bleed dry the entire industry. There's that much money out there. And one really, really wealthy guy could destroy the whole retail industry. They
did. Look at the Hunt brothers.
Well, and you know something? Speaking of that, the Hunt brothers realized that there were far more contracts issued than there were bars behind it. So do you know what the open interest is right now on the registered category? The registered category of COMEX are the bars that are held for delivery, backing the contracts that are issued. It is rehypothecated 1,790%, call it 1,800%. That means 1 out of 18 get their silver, the rest gets force majeure cash settlement. That close to the whole system blowing up. And you know, the little boy who cried wolf has been saying this forever. And I'm on the cover of the little boy who cried wolf, but the last page, the wolf comes. And I'm telling you, mathematically, economically, and sprinkling of real old school logic, the wolf is coming. Don't know when or how, but if you're not already in position, you got about 30 seconds to do so.
Yep.
To put your head between your knees and you know, kiss your ass goodbye type of thing. Yep. I hope it doesn't happen that way. I'm sorry for using profanity. I shouldn't do that, but I'm very serious about this. And I want people to understand that this is a very serious event, which we just saw.
We're trying to help people. When we say this stuff, like we're trying to genuinely help people. Like we're urging people to take control of your wealth. Like even those contracts. All those people think they own that out somewhere, but the only person that actually owns it is the one holding it in their bare hands. Like I always say, like if you can't hold it, you don't own it. If you cannot hold it, you do not own that. You think you do, but you don't.
I believe that counterparty risk will be one of the nastiest phrases people will ever hear over the next year. Not only do you have $112 billion in the emergency funding program that the banks have borrowed into, that is due to sunset or be paid back in March, but you have the most important election of this country's history.
Yeah.
Coming in 2024, and all of the craziness that's going to go along with it.
I haven't heard many people talk about that.
Oh, that's coming. It'll be all that we talked about pretty soon. But you know, 2024 is going to be a year, I think, to go down in the history books.
Yeah.
And
I made a video about that.
So being able to buy metal right now at the lowest premium and best availability we've seen in 4 years, it will go down, in my mind, is one of the biggest mysteries of my career. How is it that when you and I talk offline and we have these great conversations about fundamentals and economics and stuff, how is it that people don't see that who are completely sophisticated in finance? Is beyond me. And I think it will go down as one of the biggest mistakes that people will have made financially, because even the best laid plans need to be reevaluated. And to me, this is one of those times where you need to reevaluate things. And again, the United Arab Emirates will no longer take dollars for oil. I want people to think about that for a minute. What happens if it's Saudi Arabia and OPEC? What happens when every country on the planet who's had to stockpile dollars no longer needs to, and they sell them? People think inflation is only an increase in the money supply. That is the technical definition of it. It is. But in this case, if there's God knows how many more times dollars outside the country, 50 times more, I don't know. Because everyone's had to own them for 50 years to buy oil and they no longer need to, and they throw them back home. What happens when there's the money supply in this country increases tenfold, 50-fold? Who knows? That's hyperinflation. Interest rates have to spike to the moon to compensate. And now you have a villain to point to. It was those bastards. It was Xi Jinping and OPEC and Putin. They did this to us. And now you reset the system. This is the great reset. This is that moment. And now instead of the Fed and the government having to fall on the sword for foolish, irresponsible monetary policy and being the horrible steward of the world reserve currency, now it's a villain that did this to us. And I think it's coming. I do. I swear to God, I think it's coming. And this is about as close as I've ever seen to it happening when the UAE, who just joined BRICS along with Saudi Arabia, you don't think they're talking? Hey, we're not taking dollars anymore. That's the very beginning of the door closing on the US dollar being the sole settlement currency for oil. It's a big deal.
Do you think, I made a video about this as well. I think I sent you something about this. Do you think it's possible for the government to confiscate people's silver? Because I mean, like they did it with gold, Executive Order 6102, which by the way, guys, they've done it with silver before as well. Executive Order 6814, 1934. The same thing. Give us your silver, you pay a $10,000 fine, 10 years imprisonment or both. Everyone's like, wait, no, that was Executive Order 6102. Yeah, 1933, that was the truth with gold. But guess what? A year later, he did the same exact thing with silver, same punishments. Just nobody knows about that one because the Executive Order 6102 was the most popular.
You're
same
right.
Same thing with silver.
And that is him, Roosevelt, right there. That is the executive order. No, I don't. I think that the unintended consequences would be too severe. In 1933, everyone owned gold and silver. Everyone, because it was money. It was tender. And there was a different sense of patriotism in the United States then, and a trust in the government to do the right thing. And part of me believes that's why you have GLD and SLV. You got SLV being basically the largest stockpile of silver in the world that is administered by BlackRock and JP Morgan, two of the biggest nefarious entities on the planet. JP Morgan, who paid a $920 million fine for suppressing the market, is still allowed to be the custodian of the world's largest silver trust.
And their employees getting sent to prison.
Yeah, and HSBC, for who may have paid more fines than any commercial bank, the custodian of GLD. So, you know, you create two funds or several ETFs that siphon in all the money because the advisors, they don't want to let their clients buy physical metal because it comes out of their money under management. And once the money comes out of under management, as now everyone gets free trades, they're no longer stockbrokers where they make trades, money on each trade, they're money managers. So anything under the umbrella, they get a percentage of. Well, if it leaves the umbrella, well, no, that's bad. So they'll tell them to buy GLD and SLV or PSLV, PHYS, or whatever it may be. It's an ETF that's still under management. Well, how much easier, and if you read the prospectus on PSLV and GLD in particular, pages 6 through 12, I think, titled Risk Factors, you'd never own the damn thing ever. You'd sell it in 10 seconds, but really, you can't take possession of it unless you're an authorized participant, basically, and take huge amounts of it. It's like the commercial banks, and they'll close that loophole too. But the bottom line is that they could come in on a Friday night, take everyone's metal out of GLD and SLV, pay everyone dollars that's now in their money market account, and say, what? We didn't do it. Roosevelt did. We just closed these two ETFs, what the prospectus allows us to do. You want to buy gold and silver, call Miles Franklin or call Money Metals Exchange or call another company. Go ahead. It's not illegal to own physical in this country. They would have their cake and be able to eat it too, where SLV is the largest stockpile held by JP. I mean, come on. Instead of going door to door, people who own precious metals are typically fans of the Second Amendment and not patriotic the way they used to be. And so I would say to you that the consequences of the land of the free and the supposed world reserve currency and free markets would do something like that, would confiscate
Yeah.
gold, activate eminent domain the way
Yeah.
Venezuela did, it would be the end of this country in every
Yeah.
respect. And we would have bigger problems to worry about at that point. So no, I think
Yeah.
they can take the ETFs, have the lion's share of what they need held in one central location without having to, go door to door and do that. They could also, I guess, in theory, take the metals held in IRAs. I hate saying that, but I think in theory they could. This is one of the reasons why people say, hold it in your possession if you can. If not, make sure it is segregated in your name in a reputable depository like our Brics program. Everything is 100% segregated. And that's really important. You don't ever want to do commingled or pooled. You want to have direct title to it, unencumbered in your name. So yeah, I don't think that'll happen this time. I think they'll take the ETFs instead.
Real quick, I wanted to bring that to light because you guys know Andy Shectman and I by now. And if you are someone that cannot physically hold it, you do not want to put your trust into someone that you don't genuinely know. Even if you talk to him, time and time through email or whatever, like, Andy personally, like, he's a genuinely good person. And if anything even were to happen, he will fix it, God forbid. But that's another reason I think it's important that I am able to offer you guys a business relationship through him, because if you cannot physically hold it, that is already somewhat dangerous itself. So going with Andy makes it a little safer, in my opinion, just to put it, as bluntly as possible.
And I appreciate that. I do. And that's why
I wouldn't trust anyone else. If I had to hold it online, I would not go through anyone else besides you.
I love you saying that. And that means a lot to me. We've done this for 34 years without a material customer complaint. I've pissed people off, try to make it right. I've made mistakes. I try to make it right. But we haven't had a material complaint in 34 years and $9 billion in transactions. And we'll continue to strive for that. And, I often say, I hate the fact that people have become so cynical where you can't believe that good intentions and capitalistic intentions go hand in hand. Where
I never understand why people can't like that always baffles me. I guess the people who think that are the ones that aren't like us. I mean,
well, they're not entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
You can want to build a business that your daughter or my kids are proud of, and put food on the table while still being fair and have good intentions. I mean, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. And I think that's a big compliment you gave me, and I appreciate that. And that's also why for our storage program, I only use Brics. It's a third party. They are very regimented. They are very meticulous. And you don't want to allow, in my opinion, the company you purchase from to be the company that is storing it for you in their own vault. I could do that, but I don't. Instead, I use Brics where it is a third party, where it is fully insured, where it is fully segregated, where there is a wall between us and the ability to access that. And that's the most important thing. And if you have, you could have 100 grand worth of gold would be right now less than 50 ounces. You're talking 2 pounds. You could have that in your pockets, and no one would know. You might have some droopy drawers, but again, you're talking very little weight. 100 grand in silver, however, is 400 pounds. Well, and if you continue to purchase it, it becomes logistically challenging for some people. So if you have to choose storage, I believe we have the best storage program in America. We are the envy of the storage industry. We have worldwide exclusives that Brics has offered us that no one else has, including fixed rates, including locations in North America that no one else has, including the only safe deposit box program in a Brics facility in North America. So we're very proud of our relationship with them, but I worked with them, or I chose them, because they're the preeminent name in vaulting. And in a world of imperfect choices, to me, it's as good as you're going to find.
Would you ever think about running for president?
No, I inhaled.
I feel like so many people will vote for you. I've actually got a lot of comments from people like that, like Andy for president.
No, I got way too many skeletons my method. I was a crazy young guy. It's amazing I'm still alive. You're sweet to say that. I,
My audience.
no, I'm not qualified for that. I think that nor is our current president, by the way, in my own
Right.
humble opinion. But I think that common sense is lacking in a lot of
Yeah.
places these days, and I appreciate you saying that. But no, I will tell you that Dean Phillips from Minneapolis, who is running now on the Democratic ticket, is a guy I played softball with for years, and a guy I've known most of my life, and comes from an incredibly wealthy family. They owned Phillips Liquor, and he developed on his own Talenti ice cream, and incredibly talented, really, really solid guy. So that's the closest I'll get. I bet if he actually became president, which I don't think he will, but he's running, I could call him. I could call him right here on this show, and he'd probably answer. So
That would be
at
awesome.
least I know someone in high places, but no, I'm not
Yeah.
qualified for it. But you're sweet for.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this episode has gone on for a while now, and
Yeah, it's
I
probably
I
time to wrap.
yeah, yeah. I
But I'll
mean,
tell
we've
you
covered
what,
a
we should
lot.
do a live stream, dude. Now that you're set
Yeah,
up, let's do a live stream. Let's do some
yeah,
Q&A. Let's get some people who can ask their questions. And I don't mind be put on the spot. I'm not perfect,
yeah,
but I'll answer questions honestly for
yeah,
sure. And
yeah.
I'd love to do that. I know I've mentioned that to you before, but you can figure out how to do it. I'd love to
We've
do it.
done one before. We've done one before.
You and
Yeah,
me?
and I just read off of,
Well,
you
that's
weren't looking at
right.
the
That's
comments,
right.
but I
You
was
did.
reading.
You read it.
Yeah,
That's right. Well, I'd
yep. A
like to
lot
do
of,
that
yeah,
again.
people loved that.
And
But yeah, hold on.
where'd that
Can
go?
you see the screen
Yep.
as well? Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to mention this as well, guys, because these deals are still valid. I don't know for how much longer.
And the
And
1 ounce 2023 Silver Eagle at $4.99 over.
and how long is that gonna last for?
That one is only good through Friday night, like
Okay.
as late as possible Friday night. So on that one, when you send an email to info@BiosFranklin, just put Silver Slayer Cyber Special, and we will reply
Cool.
back to you.
Cool. I get my own little deal. That's
Well,
cool.
and if they
Yeah.
want, you may want to tell people, whether it be now or in the description, how they're going to be able to reach out to you. And I
Yeah, I
don't
was
care
gonna
if they reach
say,
out to
yeah,
you right now. I'll make
buy.
myself available for you all weekend, and I'll have my staff available for you. So if anyone wants to place orders directly through you,
Yeah.
which I'm sure
Yeah.
people do,
Yeah.
that's cool, and we'll help you get those processed,
Yeah.
because it's also, it's important for you to see how this works. So we're happy
Yeah. And I want to
happy to
talk to
get
you
that
guys.
rolling.
Yeah, I want to talk to, you guys, especially if you guys are willing to, purchase through us, that means a lot. So yeah, buy.slayer@gmail.com. Buy.slayer@gmail.com. We have the 1 ounce silver Britannias 2023, 269 over spot, minimum 50, 10th ounce gold Eagles, 5-point minimum, $32 over melt, 5 ounce Nordic bars, minimum of 10, $1.99 over spot. My personal favorite, I love 10-ounce bars. And it's only a 4-bar minimum. And it's $1.49 over spot. So
Also the Britannias, that's the cheapest, as cheap as I've ever sold them for in my whole career. Even when prices
I
were
love
bear
Britannias.
market, 2017, 16, 15, you never get them for under 269 ever, never, ever. So that's as good of a price as I've ever sold them for in my career. And whatever, everything's on sale right now. It doesn't make sense. It will go down to me as the biggest mystery in my career, why so few people see what's coming. And there's an old saying, you can't get out of the way of what you don't see coming. So your people will be firmly out of the way and positioned nicely. So
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of our
awesome.
friends and families won't be, but again, it's always good to do this, and we need to do this every single week and
Yep. I'm
continue
fully
to,
moved in now. As you guys can see, my new setup. This is the first time my audience is seeing. I'm fully moved in as of yesterday. I moved completely by myself with a 3-year-old daughter, so that was fun. A hell of a week for me, but it's all over now. So good. So yeah,
Well, congrats and
yeah,
welcome to your new home. I
yeah,
appreciate you, buddy. Look forward to picking up where we left off. I hope
yeah,
everyone out there has a great rest of your week and a great weekend and happy holidays. And
yeah,
it's going to be a crazy year. About 1 year from now, the world gets real crazy, and everything
yeah,
leading up to it, I think, is only going to add fuel to that statement. So maybe the
yeah,
most important election for sure in my life, maybe in the history of this country. So I think with that comes some craziness. So let's
yeah,
all cross our fingers and hope for the best. But thanks for a cool conversation today, and
yeah.
forward to
Yeah,
doing
this
it
episode,
again next
this
week.
this is a great episode. So, all right, guys. This is Silver Slayer. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe because I do post daily videos. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.